Occam's razor is the idea of simplicity. It relates to the idea of design economy, where you have everything that's necessary in the design to do what the design needs to do, but nothing more. And simplicity makes something stronger, both visually and functionally. So given a choice between functionally equivalent design, the simplest design should be selected because the simplest will be stronger. If we look at this poster by Saul Bass, basically it's about the San Francisco Film Festival. It tells you when it was and where it was, and it basically has a kind of a globe understanding here around which is orbiting a kind of stylized swirly-gig film strip. That's all it is. Compared to a lot of the key art and movie posters of our day, this is quite minimal. But it is very potent, it's very direct, it's very immediate, it functions well, it communicates what it is, and there's no fluff to it. Occam, by the way, was a friar back in the 14th century who studied logic and kind of used the principle of simplicity. And so his life has been handed down, so to speak, as an example of simple living, simple wisdom, simple common sense, things like that. So when we call it Occam's razor, that means we're basically shaving off anything that's not necessary. We only leave what is absolutely required to get the job done. So let's go on to a review. And basically, this is a way of critiquing and evaluating what you see. So the question is, for each one of these, what do you see? So look at it with the designer's eyes. So this is a magazine cover. It's a half-size magazine, and it's for artists and designers and interior designers and so forth, covering all of these issues. And obviously the color scheme is achromatic. It's all black, white, and gray. And our entry point is here, and then we go right to here where we see this kind of funky mirror that's in sort of an ear shape. And then we see the figure behind, and then the supporting information, and of course the ever-present barcode. It is a rectangular structure. It is formally structured. It is approximately symmetrically balanced. The space is divided. If you look at the masthead, it is framed up here on its own, and then below is basically divided in half along the implied line of the elbows, and the arms coming straight out from the torso. So this distance equals this distance. It is bilaterally symmetrical in terms of cutting the space directly in two vertically. It is a partially open and partially closed composition. It is vertically stressed as a composition. We have a sense of anticipated motion. This guy is not going to stand there holding his thumbs to his ears forever. Shape relationships, this is overlapping. The figure is organic. This is abstracted. It recalls an ear, a human ear, but it's a simplified, abstracted form. This is a website for a design agency, and so what do we see here? We have an entry point here. We have a implied line that is helping to organize This is not the same outfit, by the way, as the magazine. Notice the division of space in terms of the dark gray versus the lighter gray. The distance from here to here versus the distance from here to here. The value differentiation, the value contrast allows the type to be read easily. And the type is sorted into paragraphs where there are gutters in between, so the negative space actually enables the readability of this. As websites go, this is easy to navigate. This being the home page, we know exactly what we're looking for, what the rest of the site involves, and we have a strong sense of what to click on. We know where to go, so our prospect for going deeper into the site is really good. By the way, as you develop your own website, if you're going to own your own firm or work on a website for a employer, the website needs to be consistent with the firm, what the firm does, the specialty, or what your specialty is. And so it should be a full-bodied expression of what you do as a designer. This is a promotional piece for a person who does interior renderings in watercolor, obviously. And it is a closed composition. It's horizontally structured. It is formally structured by including the framing device around the design, around the illustration. We set the illustration off from the components that are framing it, so definitely closed composition. The kind of ragged border around the painting itself within the frame closes that composition as well. Within the design we have linear perspective, but if you're really aware of perspective issues and points of view, there are areas of this that the perspective is off, so it looks like the floor is sloping rather than being flat. So the understanding, the actual rendering of the linear perspective is not quite true. The eye level is right about here, perhaps. But this is way too far below eye level for its distance from the back wall. And notice that the back wall, where the floor meets the ceiling, right along here, that appears to be straight. This is way too angled. As you can see, accuracy in drawing is required for good communication. Learn to draw well. If you don't draw, learn to do it. If you draw well, you will be a much better designer, much more able to communicate. This is a little print ad that goes in a magazine, and we see that the colors are neutrals, chromatic neutrals, and achromatics. There's a lot of gray in there. We notice that we can read everything pretty well, so there's good value contrast between the letter forms and the darker background, and even here the background is dark enough so that we can read the words clearly. So the words are pulling forward out of the darker background. Lightness pulls forward out of darkness, and darkness will pull forward out of lightness. We have a design here that represents his work, and so this is a frame within a frame concept. Overall, this piece is horizontally structured, but it is vertically stressed in terms of composition, and we have two side-by-side symmetrical understandings. This Vogue cover, it's a rectilinear shape overall. except for the masthead, the word Vogue, it is an open composition. There is diagonal stress in the figure, so compositionally it's diagonally stressed rather than being vertical or cruciform. The letter forms line up along an implied line, which goes right across her line, her eye line. And that is intentional. It anchors her to the masthead. So she and the masthead are working together, especially because they have that partnering relationship right there. Notice also the use of implied line here and echoing here. The hem of the jacket, the seam across the breast, and the line of the shoulders are all on an implied line. And that's echoed with the bottom of the bag. And except for the word Vogue, everything is on a diagonal. It is a monochromatic color scheme. It's varieties of red. The skin tones, of course, are neutrals. So the red dominates. There is more red than anything, and then the word Vogue stands out because it is achromatic, and it does come forward because it separates from the darker red. And her face comes forward, so the face and the word Vogue are 2 points of emphasis within the design. This is just a basic kind of surface pattern idea. And by implied line, we understand the bear in the forest. And we notice that it is snowing, and the colors are appropriate to a winter. We notice the tree trunks are abstracted into basic geometric shapes. We have the linear forms of the light gray and dark gray tree trunks, and then we have the small geometric rectangles and squares, and then horizontal linear elements that describe the tree trunks, and then of course the snow falling is also geometrically stated in terms of the circles. We notice a warm gray, kind of a yellowy gray, and a cool gray, kind of bluish, and a red gray. So these are not really truly neutral grays because there is a warm push, a cool push, and a reddish push. Overall, this is very desaturated, and the colors are very quiet and lends toward a very quiet mood, which is entirely different than this. This has emphasis by basically how it's framed. Good design is framed by everything else. Good design has the most or the broadest range of color use. It goes from the red into the blue into the yellow-green. Everything else is kind of on the warm side and the yellow-green side, but there's no blue in there. So this stands as the odd man out, becomes the focal point and the point of emphasis. This actually competes with the masthead. This white box, by the way, is where the barcode goes. This is a formally structured design. The structure is active. It's formal because although it seems kind of randomly broken up, there's a strong sense of implied line right here, straight across to here, and it lines up with the bottom of the negative shape in the D and the O. There's implied line there. There's implied line there. And so we can see the structure. We can actually diagram it very easily because of the edge-to-edge relationships as things are sectioned off within this. It is a rectangular design space. It is crystallographically balanced. It is a cruciform structure. And this is a design for a wall space, basically inspired by a dining table. And notice that there's a color movement from left to right, going from bluer color into redder. and using a kind of a yellow-orange ground. There is implied line. It is formally structured. The shapes and the linear elements work together and integrate really nicely. The design kind of works back on itself and is well balanced. It is horizontally and, let's see, it's cruciform. We have the strong horizontal running right through the middle, and if we also cut it this way, this becomes the axis of balance, so it's a top to bottom approximate symmetry. But we have a lot of vertical implied lines as well as the horizontal implied lines, so it is a cruciform structure. It is and it's crystallographic. Well, it's approximately symmetrically balanced with a horizontal axis, and it is a cruciform structure. Remember, balance generally stays within the compositional understanding, and cruciform is a type of structure. Notice all the colors have a warm tonality. So color tonality will be by virtue of hue family. It will be by virtue of lightness or darkness, which would make it also a value tonality. It would be in terms of temperature. It can be in terms of brightness or dullness. So every color here, whether it's blue or whether it's the green or whether it's the red, has a sense of having yellow involved in it, so it has a warm sensibility overall. The points of emphasis are the white rounded corner rectangles, because they have no chroma, so they stand out, and they're also lighter than anything else in terms of value, so they pull forward out of the and away from the other pieces.